Welcome to You, Me, and BTC. Thanks for joining us. Another live Thursday night edition from 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern, as we are every week. We got some fun stuff to talk about today. Guys, this is not a joke at all. It's literally like true. Bitcoin is too fat for me, so I cheated on her. I apologize, kinda, but I don't know if I should. I couldn't afford her anymore, so I kind of looked at some other options that were flirting with me. That's where I'm at today. That's what we got to talk about. I need to know from Tim and Zach if it's okay that I cheated on Bitcoin, if that means Bitcoin is going to become some sort of widow or something. We'll find that out all coming up. We also have to talk about a guy that did a total 180 on Bitcoin. I mean, this happens a lot. People are like, Bitcoin, what? And then the price goes up and they're like, oh, Bitcoin, what? But this guy actually had some reasoning, and he's a journalist over at New York Times. It was a pretty big deal. At least it seemed pretty interesting. So we'll get into that also later today. Thanks for joining us, guys. We're going to have a blast. If you want to go to our landing page, head to youmeandbtc.com/live, and that will give you everything you need for tonight. The video, the show notes, the links, the chat. That's a big one. And the poll down at the bottom, some tweet buttons. Our poll has to do with, again, cheating on Bitcoin. I want to know when you think that altcoins will become kind of the go-to for everyday transactions that, everyone will use day in and day out. Well, Bitcoin becomes this reserve kind of settlement currency chain that we've been talking about. We'll get into all the details there about what those terms even mean, but I want to know when you think it's going to happen. Has it already happened? Will it happen in a few months, a few years, or another option is that it will never happen if you're a Bitcoin maximalist? Once again, youmeandbtc.com/live has all that stuff for you. I want to thank a new sponsor today as we get started, Gladius. Gladius is, if you're in web development like I am, you know how important CDNs and DDoS protection are. And Gladius tries to solve a lot of those problems. And of course, they're on our show. They use blockchain. They actually use Ethereum, which, I don't know, yeah, maybe I'm cheating more on talking about Ethereum now, more than, well, we'll get there. Anyway, they use Ethereum to try to mitigate DDoS attacks. And here's one of the cool things. You can actually participate in the network, kind of like a miner. You can participate in the CDN on the network of, it's kind of like Cloudflare, if you know what that is. But you can make money. That's where I was going with that. If you are on the network and distributing content for other people on the network, you can make money. So check it out. Obviously, white paper token sale, they got to have those. All of that is at gladius.io. It's gladius.io. DDoS mitigation and accelerated web content. And you can make money on the Ethereum network. And now we're moving on. So, guys, did I cheat on Bitcoin? Did I do something terrible? Like, what happened to me this week? I guess I should start
there. You're a misogynist is what you are, first off, because you're describing a cryptocurrency that... You keep on gendering Bitcoin, which is the biggest problem I'm having with it. I don't give a shit if you're faithful to it or not, but you need to get the genders right. And Bitcoin is a Zer with an X.
Oh, okay. My bad. I assumed Bitcoin's gender. I screwed up, guys.
You get off this show. We can't have bigoted scum like you talking to us.
God damn it, Daniel. This is 2017, almost 2018. You're still doing shit like this.
I don't think it's a problem that you... Well, I think it's a problem if you just take whatever is cheap and quick, because eventually you'll need to settle down for something real, and the cheap and the quick will just be cheap and quick, and you'll be shallow or hollow inside, and it's shallow. And that's no way to start off a relationship with money.
Yeah. It's like altcoins are like meaningless sex. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, actually, yeah. I think though, so the way I understand it, it's not a good solution because every altcoin will ultimately experience the same problem Bitcoin is experiencing now if they reach that level of use. Because if like what coin did you use? Can I ask?
Yeah. So yeah, let me lay it out real quick. What even happened? That's a good place to start. I ended up using a little bit of Zcash and a little bit of Ethereum for separate transactions. But yeah, the bottom line, just to keep it short, I tried to use Bitcoin, waited and waited and waited. I could have put another transaction through because I was depositing into my own account. So if the first one went through in like 2 weeks, whatever, I could still just send another one. And it wasn't a problem that it wasn't going through because I could always just pay more. But it was $14. Ugh, man. And actually, it was for purse.io, which Zach interviewed someone from over there on Monday. So check that out. But I was trying to deposit to purse.io. And like I said, I waited. And here's the reason. I mean, some transactions, if I want to spend $14, whatever, fine, I'll do it. But I couldn't really justify it for purse.io because it's like, well, that just nullifies the whole discount that I'm trying to get with purse.io.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what Eduardo from Purses, who I interviewed on Monday, and that's what he was saying about people in Venezuela, that they can't afford the transaction fees, so they're using Bitcoin as like a store of value more than a currency because of such high transaction fees. Exactly what you experienced, except you're richer than them.
Well, yeah. So I mean, then that was it. I ended up using some Zcash, which also didn't work because Shapeshift kind of screwed me over for the multipleth time. It's not entirely their fault, but I always get annoyed because I can't quite figure out when I'm supposed to deposit how much on Shapeshift, whatever. So still, I was waiting on the transaction, and then I had to wait on Shapeshift. But whatever. Point is, Bitcoin finally, for me, after all these years, I mean, it seriously has been years now that we've been talking about scaling Bitcoin. And I've always more or less just been, well, it's expensive. So what? Like, it's Bitcoin. We love it. It's worth it. Spending transaction fees. Do it anyway. And that's what I want to talk about today is I finally cheated on it. And then, like I said, later someone offered me Ethereum. I said, sure, if it's easier, I'll take Ethereum. So yeah, guys, go ahead, Zach. I guess I liked your point about how the other coins should have the same problem.
Yeah. So my understanding of Bitcoin and everything is much more like I understand the theoretical, like economic and political sociological aspects of it, I guess, even much more than the technical aspects. But as I understand it, technically, every altcoin should experience what Bitcoin is experiencing now when they reach the level of adoption, just use trading that Bitcoin has now, because the more on-chain transactions you accumulate, the more expensive transaction fees are going to be. So I don't think you should break up with Bitcoin, because with like Lightning Network and getting a bunch of smaller transactions or completing them off-chain, that will dramatically reduce transaction fees, and the on-chain transactions will be just massive, or like not massive, but like larger transactions. So like the solution is, as I see it, is off-chain, and plenty of transactions can be moved off-chain, and then you can go back and be happy with your first love, right? Is all that accurate?
I mean, there's so many options. I can't say that, oh, that's definitely what's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like what seems like has to happen, whether it's Lightning Network, which is still kind of on, you can define it however you want. It's like on blockchain, but it's like another layer or whatever. It's not like it's off chain in a way, but it's not like centralized off chain. Like if you sent money from like Coinbase to Coinbase, they wouldn't even put it on the blockchain at all. So there's all that. And then some people say on-chain scaling is only if you increase the block size, whatever. But still, the point is, I pretty much agree with you. Like, there's going to have to be something, whether it's side chains where you can, because they did.
Oh yeah.
I didn't follow all the details, but I know like the first atomic swap happened just within the past few weeks, which enables you to I don't know how all the math works, but cryptographically you can transfer coins from one chain to another, or it's an exchange, really. You're trading with someone else, but it's cryptographically secure. It's all on the blockchain. You trade, you can deposit into another blockchain from Bitcoin directly. And then you could transact quickly and cheaply there and then settle back to Bitcoin whenever you're ready. That's what a lot of the term that a lot of people use is the settlement layer or the settlement chain or whatever. So, yeah, I feel like there has to be something. And I guess, I mean, a lot of people are talking about Litecoin, or not Litecoin. Well, they are talking about that. But no, Lightning, the Lightning network.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be like the biggest thing coming up that will make all this go away. And I can't say I know everything about it. I really hope they're right, but we're still waiting, I guess. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I know some people are syncing, or whatever the proper terminology is, like downloading or syncing or Lightning nodes, but I'm not 100% sure how it works either. I just know it takes smaller transactions off the chain and frees it up.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be, again, like I said, just as cryptographically secure. It's supposed to be just about as decentralized, but there's debate about that.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's what we strive for, is to have no third parties, right? I don't want to trust Shapeshift because they keep screwing me over. So let's get these atomic swaps working. I don't want to trust Coinbase with off-chain transactions because not everyone uses Coinbase, and because
Coinbase is a giant dumpster fire these days.
I know, they've been failing left and right. Yeah, it's been crazy. They're like, everyone's like, well, you know, even centralized infrastructure can't handle this much Bitcoin traffic. So calm down. Like, you know, centralizing it isn't even going to make it better because centralized services suck too, which is pretty true. So, Tim, what do you think is the future of Bitcoin? Is it going to be altcoins? Is it going to be Lightning Network? Is it just going to become the norm to cheat on Bitcoin until, you know, every few months you can settle back to Bitcoin? What's coming?
Hopefully. I'd like Bitcoin to kind of just be the old reliable one who's always just there for you. You take her back, and then she's like, "Oh, I love you so much. This is great." And then you leave a little bit. No, I think it's more likely that something like altcoins will kind of take over for like each individual use that you want it for, whether that's for privacy or for speed or for anything like that. I think that's going to be more where alt currencies.
But why? Why would it be altcoins? Why can't we figure it out with Bitcoin?
Because no one wants to fuck with it. It's making too many people money, and it's just people are stupid. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, the fact that it works makes it even harder to upgrade and to change. That's why we couldn't get all this whole 2x stuff through, because it works and people use it. And yeah, it's expensive, but it still works.
It ain't broke, don't fix it. But some people would say it's broke. But yeah, it's that. And then if you do fuck it up, you fucked everything up. So I think that Bitcoin will probably stay as more like the gold version of cryptocurrencies.
Right.
The hold value for it. It's slow. It's kind of clunky. It's takes longer than everything else, but it has a more established history to it, even if it is only an extra couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because we correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, you've been here since the beginning, but I don't think we ever really expected this. I mean, yeah, we always said it was possible. We always said, like, oh, well, MySpace went away and Facebook took over. Like, it doesn't matter how big you are, you can, you know, technology becomes obsolete in time. We always said that was possible. But I don't think until maybe the past few months, maybe the past 6 months, I don't think we ever seriously thought that altcoins would become as important as they are. And not many people on the internet will admit that they were wrong and that they didn't expect whatever happened. But I think that's kind of what happened to us, Tim. I don't think we really expected this. Am I wrong?
I mean, we definitely talked about it before. We've made no bones about how much we ignore altcoins, but we've definitely talked about before how we could see altcoins taking over in their specific little niche part of what they're going for.
Right.
So it's not surprising to me, and I mean it hasn't happened necessarily yet. In my opinion, it hasn't happened quite yet, just because its mass adoption hasn't happened towards altcoins. But we've definitely talked about it before, and if you guys, everybody listening, should remember that, because we will give you all the news that you need to know. But I mean, definitely at the beginning, people were like, what the fuck is, I mean, people were like, what the fuck is Bitcoin? But especially, what the fuck is Litecoin? What is this shit? And you had shit like Doge and everything. So it did, like everything, the early stages of it, they're easy to laugh at. And then as they build up, you go, oh, this is kind of serious now. So maybe it's not stupid.
Yeah, I mean, Litecoin's a good example because it's kind of one of the biggest contenders. It's one of the first things, or one of the first coins that you would cheat on Bitcoin with. It's one of the biggest, one of the oldest. Not that age is the best thing in the world when you're looking for alternatives, but yeah. So, but no, seriously, it's like exactly in the position that we're talking about. That's the point I'm trying to get across. Like, if you're going to cheat on Bitcoin, it's very likely that it could be with Litecoin. And so let's take that analogy further. Let's literally compare Bitcoin and Litecoin. Like, what is Litecoin really taking that much, that many transactions away from Bitcoin? I feel like more people, if they own Bitcoin, or if they own Litecoin, yeah, sure, some people are transacting with it, but most people are just speculators. Now, I know that's what people say about Bitcoin, and we always say that they're wrong, or at least that, their conclusion is wrong, whatever they conclude from the fact that people are speculating on Bitcoin. But really, I'm still being serious. Like, it seems like the majority of like I've never heard of someone like, oh, hey, can I send you Litecoin? I mean, yes, it happened with Ethereum this week because Ethereum's even bigger than Litecoin now. But yeah, I guess what I'm asking is, like, are people seriously going to use Litecoin daily? Like, really, is that going to happen? Like, everyone just like if I get paid in Bitcoin fairly often to run ads, are they going to pull out their Litecoin and they're just going to assume that I'll accept Litecoin the way that they assume that I'll accept Bitcoin? Is that really going to happen? I don't know. I mean, I just don't see it as. Geez, I don't know. I don't know anyone that's like, oh yeah, I use Litecoin every day.
The only time I hear Litecoin is when somebody's like, wait, Bitcoin's up, but like, what do you think about investing in Litecoin? I'm like, oh, you're about like 5 years too late, you dumb shit. I just heard about this.
I can't afford Bitcoin, but what about Litecoin?
That's exactly what I was going to say. People like open up Coinbase. Too expensive. Ethereum's too expensive. Litecoin.
At least it was for a while. Some people say that Litecoin and Ethereum are going to have their flippening pretty soon. Could happen. But yeah, I don't know. Ethereum, especially since Coinbase has supported Ethereum for so long, and especially since it's theoretically Ethereum is supposed to have a whole bunch of added value proposition, with smart contracts or whatever. I could see Ethereum being way more likely to actually become an everyday currency that people just assume that you would accept compared to Litecoin. Like, I'm sorry, but Litecoin is not any different than Bitcoin. I mean, it uses the script mining algorithm, and that's like it. So at least Ethereum claims to have all this added value, and you could argue about whether it's really valuable or risky or expensive or whatever, but at least it has actual changes and improvements and possibilities. So I don't know. That's where I'm at. So hey guys, have you ever cheated on Bitcoin? Have you ever, other than investing? Because that's I had to clarify that when we were chatting about what I was doing. I've had altcoins before just for investing purposes on it, or just hoping that the price would go up is really it. But I never actually used them for payments, for regular transactions until this week. Have you guys? Have you ever bought a ball cap with Dogecoin?
I'm trying to remember if I bought anything with dark coin. I don't think
Dash?
I did. Yeah, what was it called at first?
Yeah, dark coin.
Dark coin. Yeah, I probably still have that shit someplace too. I just don't know what I did with it.
Dude,
No
holy
idea.
crap! That's up however many X from however many years ago.
It's quad sexing. Yeah, I don't think I have. I've remained faithful to my Bitcoin because I'm not a piece of shit who doesn't care about morals. I've made promises and I like to keep them.
All right.
At least on the podcast.
I mean, I dabble in altcoins sometimes, but I don't buy anything with them. I use and abuse them to get more Bitcoin. I guess I'm faithful too.
Of course, yeah. No, you just pump and dump to get more Bitcoin. You're just trying to make Bitcoin.
That's an important point worth making is like, no matter, like we said earlier, even if Bitcoin is crazy expensive, that doesn't mean it's worthless. Because if it was worthless, it wouldn't be crazy expensive, right? It's this equilibrium thing that I'm sure we've mentioned it a couple times on the show, but it's all in equilibrium. The only reason that Bitcoin is so expensive to transact with is because everyone wants to transact with it. And yeah, the transaction fees might be inflated because of the mania and everyone's interested and therefore everyone's transacting with it. And in time, the mania might go away and the transaction volume will creep back a little bit, which means the transaction prices might creep back a little bit. But that's equilibrium, right? As there's two things. There's two competing indicators. One of them is, transaction volume. And one of them, which you could say is something like popularity or usefulness or usability, whatever you want to call it, the more useful and popular it is, the more transactions there are. So that's one half of the equilibrium, is the transaction volume. The other half is the transaction cost. It's literally the same thing as supply and demand. There, the higher one goes, the lower the other. Well, I guess they go up and down together, because as the popularity goes up, then so will the cost. But as the cost goes up, that'll edge the popularity down because it's too expensive. But as the popularity goes down, well, then the cost is going to go down. It's an equilibrium thing. Now, I will say, I guess the word might be externalities, which we've talked about before, and we try to understand, but it's hard to understand. You could argue that, yeah, sure, it's equilibrium, and yeah, sure, it should always be in some kind of balance, but you never know. You never know if mania, like we're in the middle of now, maybe it'll get so manic and it'll drive up the cost so much that finally everyone just gives up on it, next week. And so, yeah, you could argue, like, theoretically, it should have equaled out gradually, but it was just so crazy that everyone stopped using it over the course of a week. I mean, yeah, that can happen. It's like unexpected, highly accelerated market movement that just wrecks the equilibrium. I could see it theoretically happening. I don't know if I actually think it would, but it could. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Well, I was just going to say, like, I can't even begin to speculate how this would actually happen, but transaction fees obviously aren't exclusive to Bitcoin. Like, it's just that for Bitcoin compared to swiping your debit card or credit card, the consumer bears the transaction fees instead of the merchant. So even if none of these off-chain or side-chain or other scaling options work, I still think Bitcoin can very much be usable as a currency when obviously when the price stabilizes and all of that nonsense, and the transaction fees just begin to be priced into things instead of a a fee that sort of pops up after you already consider the price of everything. It's sort of like a psychological thing. You think you know the price, and then an additional fee is later on top. Whereas if it's priced into everything, you don't even think about it. I mean, because we pay transaction fees all the time right now.
Oh yeah.
It's
that's a good point.
We just don't think about it because the merchants price it into everything already. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, definitely. And same thing. I would say the same thing. Like, I have no idea how that would affect everything and how it would play out, because it's like it's like a market force. It's such a weird dynamic where it's like a super strong market force where like every transaction has to cost something, and yet the bulk of the people participating in the market don't even think about that. The way it is now, I mean, with credit cards, like every price is affected by credit card fees, but the bulk of the market doesn't even think about those fees. And yeah, so I agree. It's a gigantic change in the way things work and the way people perceive what's going on in the market. And it's such a big change that I couldn't even begin to guess how it would actually affect the market. Is it good that we can finally see and recognize that we're spending all this money on every transaction? Or is it the same as what, it's like, oh, okay, we didn't quite see it, but, the price was higher with credit cards because somebody had to pay for the credit cards. So, yeah, we didn't see the fee. We didn't think about the fee, but it still didn't change the market because somebody had to pay it then. Somebody has to pay it now. I have no idea. I have no idea how much of an impact that kind of change would have, or what it would even impact. But yeah, I totally agree. It's a gigantic change in the way the market is perceived. So, but hey, one thing that I couldn't get across enough, and like Zach said at the beginning, I would reiterate it before we wrap up this story here. Hey, the altcoins haven't solved scaling either. It's that simple. I mean, some of them have some ideas. Some of them might work a little bit better than Bitcoin. Some of them might not. But ultimately, the only reason they're cheaper, which we said, I think, just last week, the only reason that they're cheaper is because they have fewer users. It's the equilibrium thing I was talking about. If a bunch of users flooded into Litecoin or Ethereum, it would get way more expensive, just like Ethereum did with CryptoKitties.
Yeah.
So it's and then it becomes less popular because it's too expensive, and then the fees start to drop, so then it becomes more popular, so the fees rise, so then it becomes less popular, so the fees drop. Equilibrium. It's like, hit the blunt, just be like, equilibrium, man. What it is. Anyway, any final thoughts on my cheating on Bitcoin, or should we move on to supporting Bitcoin like this guy, this journalist?
I think it was justified, but just know if you continue down this path, you'll end up cheating on whoever you.
It's a slippery slope. It's true.
You're a slippery slope.
Okay. Ooh.
I think you have to be one of those dudes who's in the mall and they wear a shirt and they're like, I cheated on my girlfriend. Then you have to take pictures and they're like, this is my punishment. You'll just do that for Bitcoin.
Oh yeah.
Bitcoin, people send you Bitcoin.
Yeah. Works for me. Hey guys, another quick shout out to our landing page, which you should check out, btc.com/live. That's where the video is. The chat, if you have any comments that you'd like us to share on the air, that's the place to be. Also, our links and our poll at the bottom. All of that is at btc.com/live. All right, Zach, I'm turning it over to you.
Okay.
Because you had an interesting story, and I want to know all about it. How did this guy 180 on Bitcoin?
Yeah. So his name is Kevin Roos, and well, I guess, and I'm positive you two are. If for any listeners who aren't familiar, 99 bit, I think it's 99 bitcoins, 99bitcoins.com or something. Keeps an obituary list of this. I started way before I ever got involved in Bitcoin. Of every journalist article, anyone who posts something online claiming Bitcoin is dead, and then they eventually like included scams and all that stuff into, but it's chiefly an obituary list. And so this guy was on there back in 2013. I think he said he bought his first Bitcoin. He says it here in the article for $140 is what it says. He bought it for $140 and at an ATM, I guess at a CVS. That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bought his first
called?
Bitcoin at an ATM for $140, and he kept it for a week, which I guess is a thing for these journalists. They don't understand that we don't really care about a given week, but they always buy it and hold it for a week and then make all these grandiose assumptions and act enlightened. So that's what he did back in 2013, and he said Bitcoin is dead. And it wasn't, obviously. And I want to take a break in this story to show a tweet the New York Times. So, well, I should say, he goes on to write an article that was published earlier this week where he says, boy, did I get it wrong. And the New York Times, whoa, that's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, so this, where'd it go? This is what the New York Times tweeted. Bitcoin is all but dead, wrote Kevin Roos, narrator. It wasn't. And then he wrote, damn, owned by my own paper. So, wow, that's gay. Okay. So this is the article. The article is called "I Was Wrong About Bitcoin. Here's Why." Posted on the 12th of December, and it's a great piece about why he thought Bitcoin was dead and how wrong he was. He even writes, "Oh boy, did I blow it! The Bitcoin I sold for $140 worth would be worth more than 15,000 today, as cryptomania has seized the entire world. What happened? Why did so many people, myself included, get Bitcoin so spectacularly wrong?" And then he goes on for the next several hundred words to explain why he was wrong and why he thinks differently now. And first, I have a phenomenal amount of respect for this guy because I love people who change their opinions and are open to think different ways, think in different and new ways about things. And
yeah, definitely can't hurt.
Oh yeah, and it's if he loved Bitcoin and then did sort of a reverse and said how I was wrong about Bitcoin, here's why it's total crap. I like to think I would have the same amount of respect for his opinion, but no sensible person would say that, so I don't know if I could respect him. But I recommend reading his article. And follow him on Twitter. He's kind of funny. Kevin Roos, "Why I Was Wrong About Bitcoin," in the New York Times. I don't know. Do you guys respect him for saying this, or did you think he's just like sore that he sold his Bitcoin and now is jumping on the bandwagon to try and make a few bucks? Or I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I'd say it seems legit to me. Seems like he's being honest and he legitimately believes that Bitcoin has value and is worth considering. So to that extent, I'd say, oh yeah, all right, thanks, buddy. Yeah, you're probably right. And same idea, I always will, encourage open-mindedness, and it's, changing your mind is a sign of that. So sure, I'll give him plenty of kudos for all that.
Yeah, I just think I don't know.
What? Go. Yeah, what were you saying?
I just think I think it's probably a tough article for him to write because nobody wants to be wrong, and like all these super smart guys that say Bitcoin is useless or a Ponzi scheme or all that, they're like they're never in a million lifetimes going to come out and say that they're wrong, but this guy did, and I respect that a lot. Even though, like, obviously I agree with him, so it's easy to say I respect him, but still I do.
Yeah, definitely. I like his first point here is actually kind of just what we were talking about. He says, I assumed these are his reasons why he was wrong back in the day. And he says, I assumed that Bitcoin's future depended on its everyday use. In the early, I'll just keep quoting it because it's a lot about what we just talked about, and it's worth considering. In the early days, its proponents envisioned people using cryptocurrencies to buy food, pay their rent, and make other day-to-day purchases. Eager to bring Bitcoin to the mainstream, they set up Bitcoin ATMs to facilitate easy transfers and encourage their local restaurants and bars to start accepting Bitcoin payments. Today, though, hardly anyone is spending Bitcoin on actual goods and services. Why would you if the value could jump 40% in 2 days as it did last week? And a few merchants have gone through the hassle of updating their system, and few merchants have gone through the hassle of updating their system to accept crypto. The disparity between virtually no merchant acceptance and Bitcoin's rapid appreciation is striking, a team of Morgan Stanley economists wrote earlier this year. As it turns out, while few people want to use Bitcoin as a currency, plenty of people treat it as an investable security similar to gold or silver, especially while the price keeps rising. And I think that's a pretty good summary of what's going on. It's not really usable for everyday transactions anymore, which, like I said, it sucks. Like I said, I didn't really see it coming, but it just isn't. I mean, it depends how big the transaction is. It might be worth considering for a lot of transactions still, but it also sucks in a lot of ways. And yet, people still invest in it. They see it as a security, something like gold or silver, and the price keeps rising. So
then he goes into something we talked about one of my top 5 dumbest things you can say. His next reason he was wrong is he assumed that the blockchain would eclipse Bitcoin when he just bought into the blockchain is separate from Bitcoin. What does he say?
Yeah,
I agreed
about that.
What?
Oh, 2 weeks ago, maybe you had your list, Zach, of the dumbest things people say about Bitcoin, and this was kind of one of them, right?
Yeah. And so he realized he was wrong about that too. It's a good article. It's very honest, and he changed his mind. On the sort of related note, there was a cool piece floating around about this guy talking. This one journalist, I think he was writing on his personal blog about the increasing conflict of interest with people like this who, I mean, well, we don't know who writes about Bitcoin, who owns Bitcoin. And so there's potentially a serious ethical problem for people like this who come out with articles, whether you disagree before or not, and support or at least take a neutral stance toward Bitcoin and own some yourself, because theoretically any positive thing that you write could influence someone to buy Bitcoin and boost the price. And we never know who has Bitcoin. So I guess that's only tangentially related, but still.
Does he say whether he or not he currently owns any? I don't
think he does. No. And he didn't on, I don't think he does. And that's what, I don't remember where I read that article. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting problem. People don't disclose, I own X number of dollars if they write about foreign exchange or something. But I guess so it's all in how you define Bitcoin. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, hey, let's go ahead and hit these last 3 points because they're all pretty interesting. The next one he has here is, and it's a surprising one, it's surprisingly true. He says, I assumed that regulators would crack down faster, which when you think about it is a pretty serious point. It's like, hey, wait a sec, they're still not. Yeah, we had BitLicense, all that crap in New York. But now we have Coinbase and the IRS and all that crap. And yeah, Silk Road got shut down and stuff. But still, like, and that all sucks. I'm not diminishing that or anything. But it still is relatively easy to just buy Bitcoin and spend Bitcoin. And the regulators don't seem to care as much as we might have expected. Am I wrong, guys? I don't know, Tim. You hate the government. Would you expect them to ruin your day when it comes to Bitcoin?
Oh, of course. I'm always just waiting for them to fuck something else new.
Well, then why haven't they? Like, or have they?
They're idiots.
I don't know.
They don't know how. Like, if
Okay.
they were able to, they definitely fuck with it, and they're just too fucking stupid. It's a bunch of old dudes. The people who probably understand aren't in a position to make actual decisions on that, most likely. And I would say there's no real reason for them not to. I completely understand whenever people put out these articles about how Bitcoin is going to crash the world economy, whether it is or not, whether it is or isn't, it's still a rival currency, a rival economy. So it is almost inherently bad for countries' economies.
Yeah, that it's funny because that brings to mind, like when you say, "Oh, the government, they're all these old people. I don't know crap about Bitcoin or computers." I agree with you pretty much completely, but it's funny to me because that brings to mind a meme where it's, that meme where there's like two buttons and this like superhero can't decide which button to press and he's like wiping the sweat off his brow.
Yeah.
One of the ones I saw was like, one button said that the government is stupid and old and fat and they can't do crap. And the other button said like, oh, the government is out to get us and the CIA is listening to everything we say, or the NSA or whatever. So it's like, and then the label on the actual guy who couldn't figure out which button was like libertarian or anarchist or something. And so the point was just like,
they can't do anything. They're gonna come kill us all. They're gonna find us.
Yeah. It's like, which is it? Are they stupid and uncoordinated, or are they out to enslave us all and coordinate all that surveillance and everything? So which is it, Tim? I mean, why do you think that they're all fat and stupid?
I mean, I'll just call them fat for the chance to make them feel bad. Hopefully, a congressman out there kills himself over it or something like that, or a judge or whatever. But I don't. I would say they're old, and like the stuff with the like surveillance and shit like that. I'm not one who's like, oh, they're looking specifically at me. It's just like, well, this is kind of fucked up because they can pretty much take anyone and bring them up on some kind of a crime if you watch anyone for long enough, because there's so many goddamn different laws that everybody breaks every day. That's more the problem there. The government in the past has shown it's very good at killing people, so that would also be that that's not a new thing they have to develop. The CIA is very good at assassinating people and destabilizing places. But it's more the understanding of Bitcoin. Like there was the Liberty Dollar, I think it was called.
Yeah.
The guy issued like, what was it, like back in the 90s, but he had like a central place they could come and then just raid it. Like government can deal with things very easily if they can just send like a team to smash down a door and then point a gun at something. But it's hard to do that with Bitcoin. That is the whole thing that we keep on talking about, is you can't point a gun at a program like that, and it isn't just one person running it out of, like, for them to do it, they would have to almost bring down a martial law type thing or severely limit something else to the point where it wouldn't really make sense for them to do it. They're not going to get any more money out of it, and any of the people who are involved with possibly taking them down, it's not like police and federal agents and all this bull. Like, once you do a job, I don't care how idealistic you are whenever you go into it. Once you've done a job for like 2 years, no one gives a fuck about it anymore. They're just doing the job because it's their job and it's just what you do. So they're not going to go after Bitcoin, because if you take down Bitcoin, you're not going to get this huge, like a drug seizure or or a dollar or what, just a money siege or something like that, or something that is necessarily going to bump you up in the ranks. So there's not really a incentive to do it because it's not going to help anybody. It's not good if the dude who takes down Bitcoin is not going to be, oh, yep, yeah, now you're the head of the NSA, or you get moved up now. Until they figure out, we're just going to EMP the entire world, and yeah, we'll see how that happens, and then we'll try to collect taxes like the Romans did, sending people around.
There you go. Yeah, there's your weekly. Oh, what would I call it? I don't know.
Tim just dropped some knowledge on you, so if you weren't buckled up, you probably flew through the windshield.
Yeah, motherfuckers. Tim attack.
I wanted to, it tied into what Tim said, but also what you said, and what it tied into everything. What the article guy said. Bloomberg, I'm going to screen share again. Bloomberg ran this piece right here that I thought was cool. And they go, Bitcoin trading thrives wherever regulators crack down the most, which like seems counterintuitive. Like it's supposed to keep Bitcoin from working, but actually thrives the most where it's attacked the most. So this guy was expecting regulators to crack down more, but even if they do, it seems like it doesn't just not have a bad effect. It actually correlates with more activity.
Right. Yeah, that seems totally possible. And yeah, I mean, they, like we were joking, they suck at a lot of what they do, especially when we're talking about technology and they're all old and gray. Yeah. But they do have guns, big ones. So
they love
you never know what they can. All right, let's hit these last two here. I assumed Wall Street would stay away. That one, I don't know. That's simple enough. It's like, oh, that Wall Street's kind of getting involved now. You know, with these futures going on, and with, you know, the whole joke about Jamie Dimon from Chase, who said Bitcoin was a joke, but he's, you know, Chase Bank is like the biggest buyer of Bitcoin these days. So, yeah, I mean, that's Wall Street's getting involved, and end of story as far as I'm concerned. Which, you know, what do you expect? You know, even if it doesn't matter how, even if an asset was terrible, if the price was going up, Wall Street would want in. So that's not proof that Bitcoin is working out, because Wall Street gets into a lot of crap that sucks. But it is proof that it's, you know, the price is getting driven up. So there's that.
Yeah. And then
his
last one was something near and dear to my heart, Bitcoin's extreme volatility. He said, I assumed that Bitcoin's extreme volatility would be a turnoff. And he explains how when he bought it, he first bought it at 140 per coin, and it fluctuated everywhere between $100 and $200 for the week that he had it. But he explains how people love to gamble, and so it was much more of a thrill-seeking attraction than he. Well, obviously, like people go and would buy into it for the thrill, but more people than he expected wanted that thrill. Right. A great closing paragraph. Real Bitcoin enthusiasts, of course, will say that I'm still missing the point, and that today's trading mania is just a prelude to even bigger, more transformational era of cryptocurrency. And while I still have my doubts, I can't credibly predict that they're wrong. After all, look what happened the first time.
Yeah.
So that's sort of ending the article and the volatility part. But I think, like, if we're going to $1 million a coin, which a lot of people, more and more people think we will, we're not even at 20,000. So we still have a long way to go. But at least right now, since futures launched over the past week or so, we've had a relatively stable price, like within a couple $1,000s, if you want to call that stable. But I mean, back when he bought especially, it was really volatile. So right. Yeah, volatility is not a turnoff, I guess, is the takeaway.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing is, like I said about Wall Street, isn't just because Wall Street's interested in something doesn't prove that it's actually a good thing. And it's the same thing. Just because a bunch of gamblers are interested in something doesn't prove that it's a great thing. But hey, it's still a big factor, and it's still driving the price up. And it, maybe it all got started with something legitimate, maybe like Bitcoin. So yeah, it's scary. We can't promise crap. We can't promise that Bitcoin won't be all the way back to $200 tomorrow. Wish I could promise you that, but I can't. But hey, it still seems like it's chugging along just fine. It seems all right. It's probably whatever.
Maybe.
Oh, geez. Well, guys, that's about it. Any other points before we get on to our? We got to talk about one last sponsor and got to do advice of the week. Anything else on this before we move on?
I think if you hate Bitcoin right now, just be prepared, or you just look at this guy saying he was wrong. Wasn't too bad. Kevin Roos, he was tough enough to say, yeah, I was wrong, and so you can too.
Yep. So there is one thing I meant to share this during the first half of the show, and I'll just do it now, just for the sake of squeezing it in. Nothing crazy, but just a little thing I wanted to share. This is a mempool chart from whatever. Yeah, I don't know how you would pronounce that. I don't even feel like spelling it, but it's called Joho's Mempool Statistics. And this is about a year's worth of data. And the biggest thing I would like to point out, the reason I cheated on Bitcoin this week, is because we're pretty darn close to a peak. If you look at the end here, it's up to 150,000 transactions in the mempool. That's a lot. And the peak, we hit a peak right before Bcash came out. We peaked at, what would we call that? Like 220,000. And then just a few weeks ago, about the same place, we peaked at about 220,000 transactions waiting to get confirmed. And we are still pretty close to that peak, like I said, at about 150,000 unconfirmed transactions. The only point I wanted to make with that is that, it is. The mempool is crazy high, which means fees are crazy high. That's the way it is. It's real. So whatever happens, happens. So, all right, guys, I think it's time. We'll jump on and share. Ooh, look at that. Infinite whatever. We'll share our last sponsor, and then we'll do our advice of the week. So the sponsor is Lambden. Now, what they're trying to accomplish here is it's a toolbox to build blockchains. Now, some people have tried this before, and there's a lot of possibilities, a lot of ways it could be done, but they have their ideas, and they are trying to make it work. I'll go ahead and just read their abstract because, by definition, it should be a short, convenient way to explain what it is. They say blockchain application development is unnecessarily hard, partially because of how new the technology is, but also because of certain imposed limitations on the current status quo of how blockchains are used today. In this paper, their white paper, of course, in this paper, we discuss the problems with the current blockchain implementations and a solution. We introduce Lambden, a software package of development tools that includes a blockchain generator, community collaboration tools, and independent chain-to-chain communication to create vast networks of blockchain applications that can transfer any asset across them. Now, we didn't plan this at all, but literally, that's we just talked about a whole bunch of that stuff. Like, hey, Bitcoin isn't it's not the solution to everything, is what we just laid out. And they're proposing what could be the solution is to have multiple blockchains with different specializations and purposes. And That's what they're giving us a toolkit to build that kind of solution. Anyone can build a blockchain with these tools, and they go through all kinds of stuff about even the actual software. It's called Saffron, and they have a command line tool called a CLI, a CLI, whatever you want to call it. So they go through literally like the commands that you can use, some of the code that you can use to create one of these blockchains, and how it could be set up. They talk about what the current issues are and why we might need different chains. Our current chains are bloated. Literally, that's what we just talked about. Transactions per second could be improved with different blockchains. Mining and resource efficiency, that's a big thing lately. How much energy does it take to mine, and what algorithms are more or less valuable or efficient or whatever. Integration, adoption, migrations, upgrades, and future proofing, because that's an option that they give you and all of this stuff. So this is called Lambden. And if nothing else gets you interested, if you don't care about, solving problems, having different blockchains, Ethereum, whatever, if nothing else, you should at least check out their giveaway, because, hey, why the heck not? So I made a short link. It's btc.com/Lambden giveaway. It's LAMDEN. So btc.com/Lambden giveaway will take you to their giveaway landing page, and they're giving away 5 Ethereum, which is worth over $3,600. So if nothing else, check that out. See what they're all about. It's, you can enter in different ways, following them, retweeting them, whatever it takes. And hey, it's worth looking into it.
I think it's kind of cool because, I mean, I said earlier, I'm not super technically immersed in cryptocurrencies and blockchains and all of that, but I do remember this sort of idea. Andreas Antonopoulos talks about how he envisions kids in classrooms in the future just building cryptocurrencies and blockchains for in-class projects and that sort of thing. And this seems like at least a first step or an effort in that direction, making development accessible to anyone who's interested in it. So yeah, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, just like, Microsoft builds, gives you development kits to Visual Studio and whatnot, so that you can develop with C++. Well, this is a platform, a toolkit to help you develop blockchains is the idea. So that's all at lambden.io if you want to find out more. And also the giveaway is btc.com/Lambden giveaway. Now, I'm sharing my screen right now for a couple of reasons. One, they have a roadmap here, which you could find at their site, and explains, how and when they're doing their token sale and all that, and when the actual software is coming out and all that stuff. But also unrelated, but this image right here, freaking, I swear to God, I've seen this literally every single page I load that has an ad on it. And I even have ad blocker on in this case, and it still gets through. I've seen this image, I swear, hundreds of times in the past week or two. Like over half of the ads that I see on the internet are it's James Altucher is the guy that said Amazon would be accepting Bitcoin. Well, so much for that. Screw him. Anyway, so I just was joking about that. All right, guys, it's time for advice of the week. Anyone got any good stuff for us? Could be about cheating. It's funny. I remember way back in the day, one of the first times we did advice of the week, I remember joking that, oh, well, if you got to give advice about, your advice could be about anything. It could be about cheating on your wife or not cheating on your wife, or about Bitcoin or whatever. Well, that's, this time it really could be about cheating on, well, Bitcoin. So.
Okay, here, if you have a bunch of Bitcoin now and you're married and your wife doesn't know, cheat on the bitch. And no, I don't like actual advice for the week. Hold your Bitcoin. I'll steal that right off the bat. And don't I don't know. Pick an altcoin this week to learn about. Don't just pick some random one. Pick one that interests you. Again, whether that's how fast it works or the privacy of it. Learn about it. Maybe get some of it, or don't necessarily get some of it, but at least learn about it. Learn about how it could be used. Diversify, guys, and then you'll make so much more money. But you'll just be smarter.
Yeah, like I said, it's funny because I never saw this coming. And for years, we've been saying, like, I don't really care about altcoins. Like, sure, maybe they have some value, but meh. But finally, it's like, well, crap. I need something cheaper than Bitcoin. So wherever that takes us, it takes us. We still have more advice, but before I forget, I want to just quickly scroll through the chat because we got a couple interesting things going on. First of all, Mr. T joined us. He said, this was a while ago, he said, were you able to get hot crypto? Oh yeah, Mr. T, we got hot crypto. Let me tell you, we got Bitcoin. So there's that. But then James Bond said, referring to last week's episode where he promised me a whole Bitcoin if I took off my shirt. He's like, oh, hey, did you get my Bitcoin? Didn't you get it? I'm sorry, buddy, but you promised me a whole Bitcoin, and I did not get a whole Bitcoin. So I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting. I did not get a whole Bitcoin. But hey, he did seriously give us a tip, and that means the world to us. Whatever the amount is, thanks a lot, dude. We'll take it. We also got Alex Katz, first time I remember seeing you in the chat, so presumably a new viewer. I can't quite tell completely what she's saying. I think she's. What's that?
I said I don't really have any idea what she's talking. She's just like, you could learn about computer or porn ads or Bitcoin buy me a Japanese wife.
Also, Bitcoin is going to crash. Litecoin, Ethereum. Can Bitcoin get me a wife? Yeah. So she might have been referring to the software development kit. Maybe she's saying like, oh, you could just study and learn how to develop because she talks about programming, computer science. I don't know. Well, but hey, thanks for joining us. We love our fans. So whatever you're saying, we love you. We love you. We love you. So
whatever you mean, we'll support you anyway. As long as you give us money like James.
All right, Zach, you got any advice ready for us?
Yeah, my advice is don't tell anyone if you're in Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency. There is a news story about this guy whose friend robbed him and kidnapped him or whatever and stole 1.8 million or $18 million worth of Ether tokens from him.
Wow.
So don't tell your friends how much, or if you have any at all, because your friends will kidnap you.
Don't trust nobody.
That's why Tim never tells us. He always acts like he doesn't have any Bitcoin, like he didn't save any, because he doesn't want us to know that he's a Bitcoin millionaire. So whatever.
Sure.
I stay strapped all the time, so someone step up to me. Come on.
Step up.
Alex Katz says she turned off ad block for y'all, which we will totally take. We do make money off of ads, so thanks a lot. That means the world to us. Guys, it's been a great week. I still have to get my advice out there. What the heck? My advice is a good old-fashioned ice house. That's my whole advice. They are not a sponsor by any stretch, but nothing wrong with the good old-fashioned ice house.
There's plenty wrong.
We need to get a beer sponsor.
We do though. Seriously, that'll be one. Once we get a beer sponsor, I'm done. Like, hey, we'll go through all the episodes with them as our sponsor, and then my life is complete. By then,
fuck ICOs. We want IPAs.
Yes.
Yeah, but hey, thanks for joining us, guys. It's been a blast. Come back next Thursday. Drink some Ice House. Check out, like I said, Gladius and Lambden. They seriously are worth your time to at least see what they're all about. And they're giving away Ethereum, so if nothing else, check that out. And we'll see you next Thursday, guys, 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern. We'll have another blast. We'll get your chats in and your tweets in and whatever else. In the meantime, you can find everything you need to find at youmeandbtc.com/live. Thanks, John Stewart, for the bullcrappy music we're listening to right now on the podcast version. It sucks. Peace out, everyone.
It sucks.